welcome back to another episode of Just Say Something podcast. I'm Phillip Clark, and today I want to talk to you about something that sounds so simple, almost ordinary, but carries more prevention power than we often realize. What is it? Family dinners, car rides, and everyday moments. When we think about prevention, we tend to picture programs, policies, or serious conversations. We imagine the talk. We imagine dramatic interventions or structured meetings. And while those have their place, prevention rarely begins in a dramatic moment. It usually begins in a small, repeated, everyday interaction that builds trust long before a crisis ever shows up. That's where family dinners and car rides come in. There is something powerful about shared, ordinary time. When families sit together, even if it's not every night, something important is happening beneath the surface. It's not really about the food, it's about visibility, it's about predictability, and it's about creating a space where conversation can unfold naturally instead of feeling forced. Research has consistently shown that teens who regularly eat meals with their families are less likely to engage in substance use and risky behaviors. But I don't think it's because dinner itself has some magical protective quality. I think it's because shared time builds connection, and connection builds protection. When a teen knows they will see you at the table, they feel anchored. When they know there's space to talk, even about small things, they are more likely to bring up bigger things later. Those small conversations about school, practice, or something funny that happens during the day lay the groundwork for harder conversations about stress, pressure, or mistakes. The same thing happens in car rides. There's something unique about side by side conversations. When you're driving, you're not staring at each other. There's less pressure. Silence feels less awkward. So teens often open up more in a car than they will sitting face to face across the kitchen counter. I've heard so many parents say, I don't know how to start the conversation. But prevention doesn't always require starting a heavy conversation. Sometimes it looks like asking, how was practice? And then listening. Sometimes it's following up a few days later and saying, you mentioned that test. How did it go? That follow up communicates something powerful. I remember. I care. I'm paying attention. And there's something important. Prevention is less about perfect questions and more about consistent presence. If the only time we initiate conversation is when we're worried, teens notice that. They feel the shift in tone. They sense the interrogation. But when conversation is a regular rhythm, not an emergency response, it feels safer. Family dinners and car rides also allow teens to see us. They observe how we handle stress. They hear how we talk about other people. They notice whether we scroll through our phones or stay engaged. Prevention is not just about what we say, it's also about what we model. If we want teens to put down their phones, they need to see us put down ours. If we want them to manage stress in healthy ways, then they need to see us do the same thing. If we want them to believe that rest is valuable, they need to see that we value it too. One of the biggest misconceptions about prevention is that it requires big, intensive effort. In reality, it thrives in repetition. It thrives in showing up again and again in small ways. It grows when the teen feels known, not managed. And let's be honest, not every family dinner will be deep and meaningful. Sometimes it will be chaotic. Sometimes it will be short. Sometimes someone will be in a bad mood. But that's okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is presence. If dinner every night isn't realistic, maybe it's twice a week. If evenings are packed with activities, maybe it's Saturday morning breakfast. The consistency matters more than the format. What builds protection is knowing that there is space carved out for connection. The same goes for car rides. Instead of turning every ride into a lecture, let it be a space for curiosity. Ask open ended questions. Leave room for silence. Resist the urge to immediately correct or solve. Sometimes teens just need to talk out loud. When we rush to fix, we unintentionally shut down the very vulnerability that we hope for. We also need to remember that prevention is not about control, it's about relationship. Teens are far more influenced by adults they trust than by adults who simply enforce rules. Rules matter, of course, boundaries matter, but relationship is what gives those boundaries meaning. When a teen feels deeply connected at home, the pull of outside pressures weakens. When belonging is strong inside the family, risky behaviors often lose their appeal. Connection does not eliminate every challenge, but it increases resilience. It gives teens a place to return when things get hard. And here's something that's easy to overlook. Those small amounts benefit, or those small moments benefit adults too. In a world that is constantly moving, where everyone is busy and distracted, shared time recalibrates families. It slows things down just enough to remind us that we belong to each other. If you're listening and thinking, we don't have that rhythm right now, that's okay. It's never too late to begin. Start small, one meal, one uninterrupted car ride, one question followed by genuine listening. You don't have to announce it as a strategy. You don't have to frame it as prevention. Just begin. Prevention rarely looks dramatic. It rarely makes headlines. Most often, it looks like sitting around a table. It looks like driving home from practice. It looks like laughter over something small. It looks like listening without rushing. Family dinners and car rides may seem ordinary, but they are some of the most powerful prevention tools we have. They create space for trust to grow, and trust is what allows hard conversations to happen before a crisis ever begins. Thank you for listening to the Just Say Something podcast. If this episode resonates with you, I encourage you to share it with another parent, coach, or mentor. Sometimes the most impactful prevention strategies are the simplest ones. Take care of yourself, take care of the young people in your life, and remember, prevention often begins in the small, everyday moments we might otherwise overlook. We'll see you next week. And until then, have a good one.